Welcome back, everyone, to the Digital Signage Today podcast. As we all know, humans are notoriously bad at predicting the details of the future. What will happen when development goes beyond what we find ourselves able to imagine today? Are you ready for this? Today, it's a privilege to have Maroon Isaac, who is the Director of Business Development in the Retail, Banking, Hospitality, and Education of Internet of Things Group at Intel, to talk about planning for tomorrow's digital signage today. Maroon, how are you doing today?
I'm doing outstanding. Thank you so much, Bradley, for having me today.
Excellent, thank you. So our first question today is based around digital out of home. Now, digital out of home has continued to innovate and see great success, but there are still a few factors holding it back and challenges, such as COVID-19. With that in mind, can you share with us where some of the areas of success and stress areas for digital out of home?
We have a lot of positives going on in the out-of-home industry, Bradley. As an advertisement media, digital out-of-home is one of only two media that continues to see positive growth year over year. And of course, this is pre-COVID-19. In fact, if you look at last year's growth, we saw some 17% year over year growth, and we reached close to $16 billion from a worldwide perspective. And of course, this is for a reason. Our industry has invested a ton in technology and data and analytics. We are no longer what we used to be, a one-to-many media. We have the ability to do audience planning, programmatic activation, and of course now we can measure attribution. In other words, we have truly become a digital media, and we now have the ability to reach the right target audience and help brands deepen their engagement with the consumer. Now that's on the programmatic and data side. On the technology side, the level of innovation in interactivity, touchless edge compute, AI, security, virtualization, anonymous analytics, connectivity, gamification, and the list is very, very long, but the level of innovation is really unprecedented. Now that's the good news. The bad news, Bradley, is we cannot be complacent. Even though we have all the ingredient and technology and resource capabilities to be a fully digital media, we're only 14% programmatic. And this 14% is a whopping 365% increase over last year. So yes, we can pat ourselves on the back for such a great growth, but we need to be at 100% really. We need to have end-to-end accountability. In fact, according to Xaxis, we can easily double what was last year a $16 billion industry to become a $25 billion industry by year 2025, if we continue to accelerate investment in attribution, programmatic, and technology. The other issue, if you don't mind me saying it, and mind you, by the way, all of these issues we can resolve, is the fact that application developers, solution integrators in our space today are spending the majority of their resource on integration work, and their innovations cannot be easily adopted at scale. Why? Because the existing infrastructure is heterogeneous, traditional based versus what it should be modular or microservice-based architecture, infrastructure. So we need to get to a point where application developers in our space can easily containerize their innovation and drive adoption at scale.
That's some excellent insight. So one issue that's often come up is 3A compliance when it comes to these things. Can you share a little bit about what that is and why it's important?
Yes, 3A in short stands for addressable, accountable, and attributable. As a digital out-of-home industry, honestly, we're not gonna go anywhere unless we have the ability to mimic from an end-to-end accountability, the world of online and mobile advertisement. And we need to do it anonymously. And of course, we can do all of that without any of their issues such as viewability, ad blocking, ad fraud, etc. And 3A gets us there. Let me explain what 3A means. The first A is addressable, meaning we can serve an ad programmatically when the target audience is in proximity of the digital out-of-home screen. Second A is accountable, meaning we can measure exposure, we can measure who looked at the ad, for how long, for example, dwell time. We can even measure some context anonymously, whether it be emotions or where the eyes are gazing, what zone of the screen you gazed at, etc. 3A is attributable, meaning for the first time ever in the digital out-of-home industry, we can measure whether exposure to an ad actually drove real business outcome. This is the holy grail. And now we can do it in the form of understanding offline to offline attribution or impact, or offline to online attribution impact. This is a really a game changer for the industry. The fact that for the first time ever, if you run a campaign on an out-of-home screen, you can measure lift in intent. I would say in summary, Bradley, 3A is very, very critical for our industry. And our message that every screen must become 3A compliant. And in doing so, our industry now has an opportunity not only to raise the CPM value, but increase the ad spend and make the digital out-of-home a core media of every brand multi-channel strategy.
Excellent. So you addressed a lot of changes that are happening in the digital out-of-home markets, but what is your personal strategy to address these changes in the market, or to really find a way to take advantage of them?
Our strategy is twofold, and we're working with the industry at large, of course, with the DPAA, with the top media companies in the world, WPP, there are Group M teams, there are Kinetic teams, and of course, Dentsu, including Lifeboard of Japan and their poster scope everywhere else. And number one, though, we need the industry to adopt 3A at scale. The path forward must be around programmatic measurement and attribution. And on that front, we're working very closely with the industry, and we've launched a number of POCs, or proof of concepts, to validate the value proposition of 3A. We launched these POCs in the UK last year, in the US last year, and we just completed the very important campaign with Hivestack and Lifeboard in Japan. And this is to prove that if we were to run a campaign with the value proposition of 3A, that it really works, we can absolutely prove to the brand that that is the future. And so we were actually able to measure 8.8% lift in intent for our key targeted audiences. This is a huge. So we're making a ton of progress towards strategy number one, to drive 3A at scale. I mentioned earlier that, programmatic ad spend is at 14%. That's great. That's not enough. We need it to become 100%, and we will get there. Strategy number two, we need our technology partners to really drive innovation at the speed of the internet, right? So when you think of the next generation digital out-of-home screen, think of it as a screen that has so much compute, so much edge compute, 5G connectivity, lots of AI capabilities, security, awareness, whether it's audience or contextual awareness. All of a sudden, you have so much potential. We have an opportunity to make the advertisement do screen one of the most engaging media. We have an opportunity to expand the business model beyond just advertisement and into areas of marketing, research, and brilliant creative. I would say the future of our industry is incredibly exciting, and technology is going to play a foundational role in making that happen. Our job at Intel is to invest and make available to the industry the right platforms, both from a hardware and software perspective, development tools, etc. Work with our partners in the industry to innovate and be efficient. Work with our media owners to start investing in the right infrastructure and making it easy for our partners, be it application providers or solution providers, to drive adoption at scale. Show the industry, especially the creative world of our industry, what is possible with so much technology when you have it at your fingerprints. And of course, engage the WPPs and the Dentsus of the world to reimagine what can be done on the do screen. we're working with the industries in all of these areas, Bradley.
Right. So that's really interesting. So my next question is, obviously COVID-19 has made a big impact on the digital out-of-home industry and all other industries. So how can the digital out-of-home industry innovate during this time of COVID-19?
Yeah, this is a great question, actually, David, especially with COVID-19 in mind. We owe a great sense of gratitude to the innovators in our digital out-of-home industry. COVID-19 has introduced a number of new challenges. In fact, the pandemic has resulted in reluctance to use touchscreens, especially in public places such as retail stores or in smart city infrastructure. I mean, until just a few months ago, touchscreens have actually become ubiquitous on everything from mobile devices to in-store self-serve kiosk or public kiosk that you see everywhere in major cities. Even after the pandemic, I would say, is under control, a raised awareness of how viruses and bacteria can spread via services could actually now limit the popularity of the touchscreen in the future. In fact, WPP launched not so long time ago, very recent, maybe a couple months ago, a BrandZ report called Top 75 Most Valuable Retail Brands for 2020. They concluded that health and hygiene will remain top of mind long after the immediate concern about contracting the virus has passed. And so the same report describes how COVID-19 is now presenting a massive challenge for the retail sector, but they also highlight how technology is going to play a pivotal role in the years to come. And they see the digital out-of-home screen, and this is really the big takeaway. They see the digital out-of-home screen as being at the core of a new interface between people, places, products, and experiences. So it's against this backdrop, we're seeing the beginning of a new area of innovation, especially in the area of touchless. Example, gesture-based control is being integrated with haptics to replicate physical interactions. And this is an approach that's being pioneered by one of our partner, Ultraleap, right? Their mid-air haptic technology, it uses ultrasound to create a sensation that mimics touch. Imagine now the ability that your finger is about a few centimeters away from a screen, and it feels like as if you're touching the screen. This is incredible. Now, another key technology, again, that's being fueled by COVID is voice activation or voice control. Another partner of ours, SodaClick, they developed a hands-free, voice-activated interactive digital signage solution for self-service kiosk and drive-through system. Again, it's powered by a number of Intel Edge compute technologies, Intel RealSense cameras, and their voice technology. It uses machine learning and multilingual neural net speech recognition along with vision detection. Now, this enables real-time, immersive, hands-free experience for the consumer. So our industry, I would say, in summary, is investing a ton of innovation. And what makes all of this possible is the level of compute and development tools like OpenVINO that we, Intel, and a number of technology companies are putting in the hands of innovators in our space. The future is incredibly exciting.
Yes, it is indeed. So with that in mind, obviously the industry has more of a one-to-many model when it comes to advertising. So how can the industry begin moving from this one-to-many model to this more programmatic, dynamic model of customer interaction that you've been describing throughout our whole interview?
And Bradley, we have all the ingredient capabilities today to make that happen. This is not a vision for the future. We can make that happen today, and it will happen. We have an incredible, rich ecosystem for all the functional blocks that make us a fully digital media, whether it's the ad stack platform providers, and we've seen a ton of investment in this space. You have Hivestack, Vistar Media, Adomni, Bitposter, Broadsign. We have a number of providers in our space, and I'm telling you, we will become 100% programmatic industry, right? We have mobile data providers. We have attribution providers, people like Bambora. We have edge compute and AI, and this is the role that Intel plays from a technology perspective. So the key is we have all of these ingredients. We can put them forward. We have the ability to become a fully digital media. And what we need to do is prove the value of 3A, prove the value of being a fully digital media. And like I said earlier, we're doing a lot of work with EdStack platform providers, people like Hivestack, people like Liveboard in Japan. We worked with the View and JCDecaux in the UK last year, right? And the whole idea is we want to show the value of 3A compliant screens. And we're going to, by the way, share a lot of the results about the proof of concept that we just did in Japan with Hivestack and Liveboard at the upcoming DPAA Summit in October that's going to run from the 13th through the 16th. We are challenging the industry to reach 100% programmatic by year 2025. And we're challenging the industry to take advantage of the so much edge compute and AI capability and connectivity that you now have in the digital out-of-home screen.
So before we jump off here today, do you have any further insights to share?
You know, as we look to future-proof our industry, I do have actually 4 key takeaways, right? My message to the media owners in our space, and these are the media owners that invest in the screen infrastructure and the footprint. My message is, number 1, look further than you can see. Smart technology might seem niche for now, but the gap between niche and mainstream is likely to be a small one in the future. Number 2, think bigger than your business category. Look, your screen today is an advertisement screen, but it can be a lot more. Smart screens and sensors, they enable media owners, brands, and retailers to really become a transport provider. You can become a market researcher. You can even become a crime fighter, right? Because the screen is going to serve as an IoT platform, can sense all sorts of anonymous data and analytics. You can do so much. So the message is the connected world is now your business opportunity and not just the advertisement world. Number 3, cheap is not good value anymore. If you want to opt for base level, low cost screen technology and media player that does what you needed to right now, is potentially a very costly decision for you in the future. Failing to equip your infrastructure with the technology that will make it a part of smart cities in the future will likely cost you opportunities in the not too distant future. Invest in a platform that's going to sustain your requirement for the next 5 to 10 years. That screen of yours is going to actually sit in that same XYZ coordinates for at least 5 years. So make sure you invest in the right platform. Number 4, and the last key takeaway for me is focus on the consumer benefits. And the privacy concerns will always take care of themselves if we focus on the consumer. Being on the right side of the law is very, very essential, of course, but so is being on the right side of consumers. And there's a fine balance, by the way, between being helpful and entertaining and downright creepy. So be sure to be absolutely transparent about the data that you collect, what you do with it, and crucially, how ordinary people benefit.
That's the key right there. So thank you so much, Maroon, for joining us today. It was great chatting with you.
Bradley, thank you so much. This is great. Thanks for the opportunity. It's really incumbent that we do this on a regular basis. We have an incredible opportunity for the digital out-of-home industry, and the more perspective that we have on the future, the better off we are as an industry. Thank you again.
Thank you.